Annie works as a private dancer at an elite club and is known for her ability to connect with clients thanks to her friendly and charming personality. One evening, the club's manager, Jimmy, asks her to meet a Russian-speaking client. That's how she meets Ivan, a student from Russia. The two retreat to the VIP lounge and quickly hit it off, after which an impressed Ivan offers Annie a chance to earn more by visiting him at his home. The next morning, Annie returns to her small apartment, which she shares with her sister. That evening, she arrives at the luxurious home of the Russian man, where they spend time together, and she learns that Ivan is the son of a wealthy Russian businessman, Nikolai Zakharov. Annie shares everything with her friend and coworker, Lulu. After another visit to Ivan's place, he invites her to his New Year's party. Annie attends the party with Lulu, and they have a blast. After the celebration, Ivan offers her $15,000 to be his exclusive girlfriend for a week. Annie asks Jimmy for time off and dives into Ivan's luxurious world of entertainment and fun with his friends, which culminates in a trip to Las Vegas, where the young couple grows even closer. One day, while lying in bed, Ivan tells her he'll soon have to return to Russia to work for his father. He jokes that he could stay in the U.S. if he married an American. Annie remarks that Vegas is famous for quick weddings, and without much thought, Ivan proposes. That same night, the couple gets married in a local church, and Annie quits her job at the club. Although her longtime rival, Diamond, predicts the marriage will last 2 weeks, Ivan gives Annie an engagement ring and a fur coat, and they happily spend their days together. Meanwhile, Ivan's mother learns about the wedding from the newspapers and asks his godfather, Father Toros, to find out what's going on. Father Toros tries to contact Ivan but fails to reach him. Annie notices Ivan avoiding certain calls and asks if he's told his parents about their marriage. Ivan claims he has. Toros sends his associate, Garnik, along with his assistant Igor, to check on the situation. Garnik asks them not to harm anyone. However, when they arrive at Ivan's home, he refuses to let them in, forcing Garnik to use his key. A heated argument ensues, during which Annie realizes that Ivan hasn't told his parents about their marriage. As always, a drunk Ivan focuses more on getting the uninvited guests to leave them alone. Eventually, Ivan shows Garnik the marriage certificate, and Garnik photographs it for Toros. The priest, interrupting a child's baptism, has an uncomfortable conversation with Ivan's mother, Galina. Toros rushes to Ivan, asking Garnik to put him on speaker so Annie can hear. He scolds Ivan for marrying a dancer, calling it a sign of disrespect to the family. The priest declares that they'll immediately proceed with a divorce, when Toros informs him that Ivan's parents are already flying to California. Ivan abruptly asks Annie to pack her things and leave with him. However, as she goes upstairs, Ivan unexpectedly escapes the house alone. Ivan flees from the pursuit, and Garnik loses sight of him after slipping. Meanwhile, Annie lashes out at Igor, which escalates into a conflict. In the end, Igor is forced to tie her up as she continues to act out. Even while restrained, she manages to kick the second guest. When Toros arrives at the house, he is astonished at how fiercely Annie resisted the two men. He tries unsuccessfully to call Ivan from Annie's phone and sarcastically remarks that her husband has abandoned her and isn't answering calls. Annie tries to defend Ivan, even after hearing about his impulsive actions over the years. Toros points out that the house actually belongs to Ivan's father, while Ivan himself only has a room decorated with spaceship wallpaper. The man accuses Annie of tricking Ivan into marrying her. When Annie shows her wedding ring, Toros takes it, claiming it also belongs to the Zakharov family. Annie starts screaming, threatening to call the police, and is gagged with a red scarf. Toros then tells her that Ivan only married her for a green card and offers her $10,000 to annul the marriage. Annie agrees but insists on discussing it with Ivan first. The group sets off to find Ivan. During the trip, Annie keeps arguing with Igor, who doesn't understand the reason for her hostility. Their first stop is a pastry shop where Ivan's friends, Crystal and Tom, work. When the pair refuses to discuss Ivan's whereabouts with strangers, Igor, on Toros's orders, wrecks the place. Crystal tries to call Ivan but gets no response and suggests looking for him at their friend Alex's restaurant nearby. They head to the restaurant, but Alex hasn't seen Ivan either, and calls to his phone goes straight to voicemail. Toros shows Ivan's picture to the restaurant's patrons, but no one recognizes him. Outside, Igor notices Annie shivering from the cold and hands her the scarf he had earlier used to gag her. After some hesitation, she accepts the warm scarf. Meanwhile, Toros sees that his car is about to be towed. Determined, he unhooks it from the tow truck to continue the search. Eventually, the group discovers that Ivan tried to enter several nightclubs, but was either denied entry or thrown out for drunken behavior. Annie calls Lulu, who informs her that Ivan showed up at their club and retreated to the VIP room with Diamond. The group heads there immediately. Annie drags her rival out of the room, where an incoherent Ivan remains. She pleads with her husband to intervene and stop Toros from annulling their marriage. But Ivan is too drunk to respond. Toros pulls Ivan outside while Diamond mocks Annie over her questionable marriage. This leads to a fight between the two women, and Igor struggles to carry Annie out of the club. In the car, she argues with Toros, insisting that Ivan deserves a chance to speak when he sobers up. However, Ivan refuses to listen to Annie and insists on sticking to the plan. The group drives to City Hall and spends the night in the car, waiting for the judge to arrive. Annie tries to talk to Ivan, hoping he has sobered up by now, but she finds that he hasn't. The Zakharov family lawyer, Michael, arrives. Annie argues that her husband is too intoxicated to make any legal decisions, but her concerns are ignored. She also appeals to the judge, emphasizing that their union in Las Vegas was legally officiated. Hearing about Vegas, Michael states that dissolving a marriage contracted in another state can only be done there. The judge agrees and closes the case. Everyone heads to the airport, where Toros meets Ivan's parents, Galina and Nikolai. When Annie tries to introduce herself and says she's happy to be part of their family, Galina coldly replies that she will never be part of the Zakharov family. Upon learning that the divorce must be handled in Nevada, the authoritative Galina orders everyone to fly there on her private jet. At the plane steps, Annie begs Ivan not to annul their marriage, but he irritably asks her to leave him alone, saying it was just a week of fun. Galina invites the distressed Annie to board the plane, but threatens her when she initially refuses, saying she'll hire a lawyer to demand a share of Ivan's assets. Galina warns Annie that if she pursues this, she'll lose everything and even put her family at risk. During the flight, Annie observes Ivan's parents pressuring him to start working for his father's company. When Ivan snaps and shouts that he sees no tragedy in spending a week with an escort, Annie can't hold back and declares she's glad about the divorce, calling him a spineless loser. Galina agrees with her, and Igor, trying to lighten the mood, offers the upset Annie a drink. Upon arriving in Vegas, Annie tries to mask her disappointment with a calm demeanor. When Galina asks the couple to sign the divorce papers, Annie pauses briefly, hoping for a reaction from Ivan. However, he avoids her gaze, and she confidently signs the documents. Unexpectedly, Igor suggests that Ivan apologize to his ex-wife for how he treated her, but an outraged Galina vehemently opposes it. Annie remarks that Ivan only married her to defy his parents, silencing his mother with this statement. This causes Nikolai to burst out laughing. The argument ends with Annie throwing the red scarf at Galina and the fur coat Ivan gave her at him. Galina allows Annie to stay in the house until morning under Igor's supervision. That night, Igor tries to comfort Annie, but she responds with irritated outbursts. During their conversation, Igor learns her real name, Anora, and Googles its meaning. Annie mocks his name in return. Igor tries to convince her that leaving Ivan's family might be the best thing for her, but Annie firmly disagrees. In the morning, Igor drives her to the bank to collect the promised money for the divorce and returns the expensive wedding ring that Toros had taken, asking her not to tell anyone. At the house, Annie once again insults Igor in his car. Suddenly, she provokes him into intimacy right inside the vehicle. In the end, realizing what has happened, she starts hitting Igor, but he simply holds her gently. And so this story comes to an end.